Right, we are going to do a little bit of annotating. Just give me a second. I want to set the annotations up, and I'm conscious that there might be some new people here today who've never done annotations. So before I give you like, this is how we're going to use annotation, let's just practice, because I think there's also been some Zoom changes. Let's just practice to make sure annotation is working. So for regulars, just stick stars on my screen wherever you want. For anyone who's new, oh, it looks like it's working. I'm just going to give you instructions about how to make annotate work, and then I'm going to ask you a very specific question. So to make annotate work, it's normally at the top of your Zoom screen. So there should be view options, and then it's annotate, and then stamp, and then star. So just have a little go. Sarah from the team's put it in chat for you. So it's normally towards the top, view options, annotate, stamp and star. For anyone that it doesn't work for, it's probably because of how you've joined Zoom. Do not worry, it's not like mission critical to motivation. It's just I want to make sure. Okay. I mean, I'm loving the pink blob. I feel like someone might have tried to do a heart with stars as well, which I very much appreciate. Okay, all right. I think the majority of us have worked out the tech. Great. So hold the stars. I'm going to clear them down and I'm going to ask you a question. So let me get my little thing up. The stars are gone. So my question for you, that little thing that looks like a baguette, I mean, I did draw a thermometer and it looked a bit rude. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So I got rid of that. So this is a skill of my drawing. So instead I've drawn it as a thermometer that looks a bit like a baguette because I thought that was safer. This is to illustrate the scale of our motivation at the moment. And what I want you to do is stick a star. So obviously towards the bottom, the red bit is like no motivation. You're feeling really flat. It's not good. Green is like, I'm all kinds of motivated, Helen. I've got loads of energy for what I'm doing. I want you to stick a star on the baguette, which is a thermometer that doesn't look rude, with where you're at the moment. Are we high? Are we low? Are we middling? Star my baguette, which is a statement no one has ever said. As the group, where are we? Interesting. What do we see? I would say like a little bit of a sort of what do you think, everyone? Maybe sort of middling to low. I mean, great state. I mean, obviously some of you off the scale. I want you tell us what you're doing, everybody. So I would say the majority of us is not very scientific. What if the mood is suspended animation mixed back? Suspended animation. Yeah, okay. I would say middling to lower as a group at the moment. My second question for you, we're going to we'll leave those stars on there. I'm going to get rid of my little circles. I wanted to know, does that feel like you're kind of like it's on the up, so it's getting better, or do you feel like in terms of like year so far, it's getting worse? Like, so you've got a state, which is what you've already put on my little baguette. Give me a star if you're like, it's on the up, Helen. So that's what I remember, it's on the up. Or do you feel like, do you know what? I feel like it's kind of going down a little bit. Where are we? Stars on the green arrow if you feel like it's going up. You're not allowed to sit in the middle. Red star or green, red arrow or green arrow. That's interesting, Sam. So can you be motivated in isolation of the people around you? Interesting question. Like if I'm like, oh, my work's amazing, but then everyone I work with is like, it's interesting. I would say that I think other people's energy has a big impact on your own. So if you are in an environment where everybody's kind of flat and motivated, it's very hard for you to stay energized in that context. I'm thinking about the stuff, around radiators, drains, and kind of like energy osmosis, all that kind of stuff. I think it's quite hard if you to maintain a high energy level, high motivation level if people around you aren't feeling it. Worse since I live in a dystopian country. Thank you. Heavily influenced by mood hoovers. Yeah, I think a lot of us are. I think it's human nature. All right, so my very scientific assessment is that we're sort of, I don't know, what do you think, everyone? I think we're maybe equal. It's probably equal split on the ups and downs at the moment. I wanted to dive a little bit into the factors that contribute to this. So let me just take away your stars for a moment, as lovely as they are. I tried to put what I thought some sort of motivation minimizers were, so things that reduce our motivation. So I'll read them through quickly, and then I wanted you to stick a star on the ones that might be affecting you at the moment. There is an other box as well if you're like something else is going on, you've not written it down, Helen, and maybe pop that into chat for me. So is your motivation sort of lower at the moment because of a lack of connection? Is it lower because of the type of work you're doing? Like it doesn't connect with your strengths, for example, you're just not really enjoying work. Is it lower because of the amount of work that you're doing? So it's just, you know, your workload feels unachievable. Is it lower because you feel like you've got a lack of purpose? Like you're busy, you're very busy, but you're not sort of sure of what you're busy in service of. Is it lower because you feel like you've got a limited impact? It's like you're doing lots of stuff, but like is it really making a difference? Is it limited because you don't feel like you've got a lot of freedom? So maybe you feel like you're doing what other people want you to do, but you've not got freedom over, you know, what you're working on or the way you're working. Is it lower because of people issues? That maybe you feel like I'm just not clicking, like I've got a bit of like, or maybe it's Sam's thing, you know, like maybe the sort of the environment I'm working in isn't conducive to my motivation. Or is it other? And if it's other, can you just, I don't know what other means. So can you maybe privately, if it's easier, just find out like Helen Tupper in chat and message me privately. What's in the other categories? Give us a bit of insight. Well, I don't think this is very revealing, everybody. We've all got a bit of everything. We've all got a bit of everything. Maybe, what do you reckon is the biggest one there, everybody? Maybe the top, maybe these ones? What do you reckon? Maybe people issues, maybe these ones are the ones that have got the most stars on them at the moment. That's interesting. Lack of recognition. That's interesting. So not feeling like your work isn't appreciated by others. Interesting. Coming up against barriers. So maybe that's like bureaucracy, internal process. A couple of people saying to me privately, sort of saying some family stuff, some stuff that's happening outside of work. So it's hard to be motivated inside of work because some stuff that's happening outside of work. It's interesting. I'm also seeing quite a lot of org change stuff. Let's have a look. Latter cloud strategy. Okay, so I guess the reason I wanted to do this was just to get a bit of a sense of how you're all feeling, which I kind of get a bit of a mixed bag, and seeing what some of the things are, trying to maybe contributing to it. Also just to see if we could help any more with any kind of stuff that we've got. We've not done I don't think we've done a podcast for a while on finding connection. We did a podcast ages ago. This role doesn't exist anymore, but with a government minister who was the Minister of Loneliness. I got to go to the House of Lords and talk about kind of the work that they do around loneliness. It was very interesting. But I don't think we've done a podcast for a while around kind of refinding connection, which could be an interesting topic. Okay, so I thought we would now move on, unless you've got any other perspectives to share on what's taking motivation away at the moment. I thought we would move on to like how we find it. Like if these are the things that, you know, motivation's up and down, there are many factors that affect it. What are some of the things that we can do to find more micro moments of motivation? So that was the context of the podcast. It wasn't like a radical redo. It wasn't let's go find a new job, or, you know, let's go get a new qualification in this area. It was more, what are small things that you can do within a week, maybe within a day, that can give you like a little bit of boost, that can maybe kind of help you to bridge between two states. So I'm not feeling amazing at the moment. I know that it might be better in 3 months or whatever, but at the moment I need something to give me a bit of a boost through this period of time. So that's the plan. I'm just going to clear down all of your stars. Thank you for sharing, everybody. And we're going to get onto the sort of things that contribute to motivation. So we structured the podcast this week around Daniel Pink's work. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. I really like it. I like him as a researcher, academic, thought leader. I think his work is very accessible. So I've looked at his work for quite a while, and he has a book all about drive, a good TED talk on that as well. And it talks about the 3 things that contribute towards drive, which we will kind of do drive/motivation. I presume he does drive because it's a slightly more ownable word. But these 3 things that contribute towards motivation. So the first one is purpose. So this is feeling a sense of connection to your work, feeling like you're part of something bigger than you. So for example, if I zoom into my day, what I do is deliver career development to sort of training, I suppose. If I zoom into my day, that's it. But if I zoom out to my purpose, it's much bigger. It's about making careers better for everybody. So I think purpose is this ability to sort of zoom out from what your day-to-day might look like and see sort of the bigger picture of what you are working on. Really important for our motivation that we are able to do that. Second one is mastery. So this is feeling like the things that we want to be known for, like the strengths we want to be identified with, are getting stronger. Like we are doing work that uses those abilities, that stretches those abilities, that allows us to improve in the areas that we want to be known for. That's mastery. And then the last one is autonomy. So this one is about feeling like you are able to work on things with a level of control. And maybe that might be about what you're working on, or where you're working, or the way you do it, or when you do it, but feeling like you have a level of trust and freedom and control over how you do what you do. So these are the 3 areas that he talks about. I thought it might be useful to just do kind of one more star thing together, which is, which area do you think you are lacking in at the moment? So you stick a star on one of those circles in terms of the area you feel like you're missing at the moment. Maybe you feel like there's purpose, or maybe you feel like you don't grow in the skills you want to be known for, or maybe you don't feel like you've got the freedom that you want in your work. Oh, I'm glad you like it, Judy. Yeah, I do too. I do too. Oh, so it feels like quite a lot's got autonomy then. That's interesting. Maybe the mastery. I'm a recent founder, so definitely not mastery yet. Yeah, I was thinking I'm a not so recent founder, and I still don't feel like I've got mastery. I'm well away from it, Rebecca. But I do feel like I have the autonomy to develop it. I think that's probably, like, do I think I'm where I want to? No. Do I think I've got the autonomy to develop it? Yeah. Interesting. So autonomy doesn't feel like our main issue, though it is for a couple of people. I don't want to kind of take that away. It feels like it's sort of purpose and mastery, and maybe as a group here today, the areas that we might want to improve on. So what I thought I'd do next is I'd sort of just talk about some of the things that Sarah and I explored on the podcast. We did definitely come at it from 2 different perspectives, and so we can share those ideas that we had. And then I thought, as a community, would build it better. What's worked for you? Like, when you have felt a sense of purpose or mastery or autonomy before, what has worked for you? And we'll put all those ideas in chat so that we've kind of got a bit of a collection of ideas to help us with our motivation. I like Sarah's idea with minds and movement. She does like a bit of movement. Right, let's do purpose to begin with then, everyone. So the first thing on purpose, so we talked about 2 things here. So Sarah's idea was all about solving a problem. So I'll kind of put this on here. So solving a problem, that was what Sarah talked about, and then I'll talk about mine. And mine was about sort of micro moments. I talked about these like inspiration, like quotes to inspire, quotes that help you see kind of the bigger picture. So let's just talk about these things for a moment and kind of how they help you with a sense of purpose. So Sarah's point around solving a problem was, she talked about, like, pick something that is frustrating and bigger than you. So, you know, like, for example, I get really frustrated in organizations when they invest in people when they get to the next level. I really don't like, really drives me mad. Like, learning is driven by the level that you get to. The idea that the more senior you become, the more you like access support for your development just seems really strange to me, because I'm like, but what about everybody that can't even get more senior because they've not had the support? Like, it's just a weird thing to me. So sometimes you can find purpose in a problem. You know, like, purpose can sometimes, you know, what's your purpose? It can feel really hard to say that, but what frustrates you about your industry or your organization or your profession, sometimes solving those kind of problems can give you a sense of purpose. So that was Sarah's idea. She referenced this thing about following your blisters, the idea that, you know, like, when you've got a blister in your foot and it's like drives you mad. She's like, actually, like, look for the blisters, look for the things that drive you mad and that are painful, because those are some of the things that can give you purpose when you kind of like intentionally try and solve those problems. And then the quotes thing, for me, the reason that quotes help me is I find that I am a very I just get very like, what needs to be done. My head is a very like, what needs to be done today. Like, I've already looked at my diary today, and I've gone into sort of this half hour. That's by the way my brain works. And I find that quotes and just inspirational things, as cringy as it sounds, help me to zoom out. And I found this little book. So the podcast, I'm actually really happy. The podcast has reconnected me with this little book, which I'm really sad. I've got it in the right state. Look, it's a complete state. But I started collecting like inspirational quotes in here and things that like help me to zoom out. And I'd stopped doing it, but I knew I had done this. And I was searching in my bedroom, and I was like, where is that book? And I've reread it as a result of the podcast, and it's really helped. There are some really nice things in here. I like this, like, what you appreciate appreciates. That's Lynn Twist. And then what else is there here? What happens to you is much less important than how you respond to what happens. That determines the way forward in your life. Eckhart Tolle. I've gone big and philosophical with that one. But there are some, I don't know, this makes me, I even put a quote from me in here. I mean, how egotistical is that? Me, 2020. It says, work hard, do good work, do good through your work, and make better things happen. But, you know, like for me, I look at this and I'm like, oh, like, stop thinking about what's your next meeting and think about this. So, you know, it's Sarah's, I think, Sarah's is definitely more practical. I would say, like, pick a problem, find the frustration, and let that guide you. And mine, I think mine is like, you know what, if I'm feeling like I've got low motivation in the morning because I've got back-to-back meetings or whatever, these help me just see the bigger picture. Like, what is it I want my work to be? What is it that I'm doing with my time? That kind of thing. Caroline's got quotes. What else have we got? I mean, I appreciate it's a bit cringy me showing you that, but it's a genuine thing. Any other things that we do, everybody, to find purpose? What are you doing? I love quotes. My planner has a daily quote and I love it. Yeah. I've got a book. I don't think it's in here. I've got a book which is like a daily, got a daily, it's quite a good prompt for journaling. I want to say Sarah Brennan or something. Like it was an Oprah recommendation, which tells you probably all you need to know. It's quite journaly and out there. But it's like 365 things for your life, and it's got like a daily quote and a daily reflection. It's quite useful. Anything else, everybody? An HBR article I read linked purpose, but more on understanding the value of a specific task. So the task you're struggling to be motivated to do, then get more information on why it's needed and why it matters can help. Yeah, that kind of connects the thing that it's like a really old story and it's a bit cringy, but it's that, you know, the JFK thing at NASA. Probably all heard it, but I'll say it in case you haven't. Like, JFK was going around NASA and there was a janitor sweeping the floor, and he said something like, what's your job? I mean, he was sweeping the floor, but JFK said there was some conversation about, like, what's your job? What do you do here at NASA? And he said, well, Mr. Kennedy, or President Kennedy, I suppose, my job is to help put a man on the moon. And it's this idea that he might have looked like he was sweeping the floor, but in his head, what he was doing was contributing to something much, but he was part of a system of people that were putting a man on the moon. So I thought it's quite an interesting one to do. Podcast, growth folder on Instagram. That's lovely, Onyeka. Yeah, that's interesting, Reg. I like quotes, but the effect is never long lasting. I agree with you. I mean, I think quotes are a bit of a sticking plaster, unless they inspire action, and then that's a slightly different thing. But yeah, I agree. We're talking micro moments of motivation, not necessarily like long-lasting fulfillment. But I take your point. How do I find the quotes? Do you know what? I think this is a bit of a biased thing, Rachel, in that when this book is in my bag and I see a quote, I'm almost more on alert for it, because I know, well, I'm like, oh, I'll write that in my book. And then this hasn't been in my bag and I read the quote and I forget it. So I feel like having this in my bag just sets a bit of an intention. And I think, you know, you're always reading stuff on Instagram or LinkedIn. I feel like I might have frozen everybody. In the interest of time, I'm going to move us forward. So the next thing is mastery. So this is about the things that we want to be known for and feeling like we are taking ownership and improving them. Two ideas that we had here are mastery. So the first one was to take all this lovely knowledge that is in our brain, the things that we are learning about, and to share it with other people. This actually helps for a couple of reasons when we are kind of sharing our knowledge. One, it makes the sort of knowledge much stickier for you. So if I have to read this book, I've got so many books on the go, everybody. These are like all the books that I currently have on the go. But if I read these, and these are all connected to things I want to be known for. So leading people better, being curious, and growing a business. These are all things I want to be known for, to the point of mastery. If I read those with the intent of sharing it, then when I'm in sort of engaging with that information, my brain has to work a bit harder, because I have to really think, I have to question it. Do I understand it? And then I have to think about how I can articulate it in a way that could be helpful for other people, but in my words. And those kind of loops are just harder for your head. In a good way. It's stickier for your brain when you go through those sort of learning loops in that way. And actually the research on this shows that you don't even have to share it. I mean, I think you should share it, because I think that's how learning happens and how we kind of create environments where everyone learns, because we share what we know. But the research says that even reading a book or going on a course or engaging with PodPlus, for example, with how would I share this with someone in my team in mind or whatever, we kind of process those learning loops. So sharing knowledge, that could be in a team meeting, that could be in a LinkedIn post. I mean, it could be even here, like what you're doing here. That's a way that we can kind of build mastery. That was kind of my idea. And then Sarah talked about small actions. So her thing was about, if every day, don't try to be like the master. It's sort of, mastery is different, I think, from becoming the master. She talked about like 5 small actions. So what are 5 small things you could do? So could you do 5 minutes in a team meeting? Could you add an insight into a presentation? Could you ask someone to be a mentor? Like 5 small actions to increase your mastery, rather than trying to be like the complete master, the complete sort of know it all of this area. Small actions compounded. Yes, there's this on that phase on. There's this thing that Sarah and I always get really confused about, which is like this 1% better like thing. I've forgotten what it is. Some mathsy people will know this better than us, but it's something like, if you get 1% better every day, you'll be like % better at the end of the year. And I can't remember what it is, but it is the idea of accumulating improvement, and lots of small things contribute. Someone can reference, it's definitely in James Clear's book, and it's in some other people's, about kind of the power of tiny habits. Any builds on this, anybody? Yeah, it is the compounding effect, but it's the number, Lucy. I can't remember. If you do 1% better every day, you'll be this % better by the end of the year. Can't remember it, but I'm just going to leave it there, because it's probably not that important. Everyone is the principle. Anything else on that? Power of incremental gains. Yeah, exactly. All this stuff is just the number I can't remember, and the maths that really confuses me and Sarah. Every time we try and work the maths out, we're like, I don't get it. I get the principle, I don't get the maths. All right, last but not least, everybody, is the this idea of autonomy, having a sense of control over what we're working on, the way that we're working on it. We had a couple of ideas here. So mine was this idea of sort of like a window where other people can't get in my window of work. So it's almost like I will create some time in my diary. I used to call it like, I'm you say to Sarah, like I'm kind of like unavailable at this time, or I'm kind of going dark at this time, which is like apparently I looked into it's like a military reference, which is not very good, so I'm stopping to say that now. But it's almost like it's a no contact work window, where I basically say, look, between 9 to 11 I'm not going to be on email, because I think half of my problem is I feel like I need to be responsive. So if I can signal to people, if I give it a name, like this, I'm going to have a no contact window 9 to 11 on Friday, because I need to get this thing done, then I feel like I have signaled to other people that I'm not going to reply, so I don't need to feel guilty about it. And I feel like I've set an intention for myself that is the period of time when that thing is going to get done. And that gives me a sense of control. So I just think of this now as a no contact work window. Sometimes it's called like monk mode. We wrote about this in the in You Coach You, this monk mode idea, but hopefully you get the concept. Sarah's idea was like small add in autonomy, small ways that you can add in autonomy. So for example, only checking email 3 times a day. That's you adding in autonomy. Like, I'm not going to get constantly distracted. Turning off notifications, deleting social media. One of the things she's done is taken LinkedIn off her phone and she's just got it on her laptop. So these are like sort of micro moments of autonomy which contribute towards your motivation. So that was everything that we talked about. Yeah, thank you. I knew it was 37%. Thank you, Andrew. I knew it was 37%. I still don't, I might just copy and paste your like maths there, because I know it's the 1% every day, and I know that it's 30%, but I'm like, I don't get it. But I'm going to take your thing away with me. Thank you, Andrew, for helping me increase my mastery of incremental improvement. So everyone, we are at time. We are 1 minute over. Hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully it's just sort of giving you a little bit to reflect on. I've definitely thought a bit more about, I want to do more of these micro moments, so I don't feel like I've got a big dip in my motivation. So I wouldn't wait. If you feel great, then don't wait. Like, just do it anyway. Do this stuff anyway, and you're more likely to sustain your motivation over time.